The Grand Concord of galactic species had assembled in full session, its high chamber orbiting the binary stars of Tau Corvus. 1,000 alien representatives filled the dome, each more ancient and proud than the last. Their silken robes, chitinous plates, and glowing neural ridges caught the light of artificial suns. It was a pageant of power, and at the center of it stood a single human, alone, silent, surrounded by laughter. Ambassador Elias Ward of Earth waited as the room calmed just enough for protocol. The Varnock delegate, a towering, obsidian-scale creature, clicked its mandibles and spoke through a rasping translator. "Your species is reckless, disobedient, and dangerously primitive. You were warned. You defied our boundaries again." Snickers rippled across the chamber. The Zithri delegate chimed in, its voice oily and amused. "Do the apes need another reminder of their place?" Somewhere in the upper galleries, the acidic tongue of the Kresh host hissed. "Perhaps this time they'll understand humiliation." Ward didn't respond immediately. His posture remained unthreatening, his eyes calm, voice measured. The colony on Alther's reach was legally settled. The pirates who attacked us were unmarked vessels with no transponder signatures. Earth acted within its rights to defend its people. That earned another wave of laughter. A glowing slug-like being from the Fifth Sector burbled. "Your defense destroyed 7 vessels. Overkill is not diplomacy." The Varnock clicked again. "You could have contacted the Council. Instead, you launch missiles. You still think like a Death World species." Ward raised an eyebrow, only slightly. "We are a Death World species." A beat of silence, then more laughter. Elias glanced upward, not at the crowd, but as if searching for something else. "Restraint," he said softly. "You interpret it as weakness. That's your mistake." The room simmered. He was dismissed soon after. The Council filed their ruling. Earth would face restrictions. No new colonies outside Sol. No more independent fleets. All human ship designs will require Concord approval. Another slap. Another insult. The media network spread the news within hours. On Varnock Prime, entertainers reenacted the scene with mock apes dressed in suits, tripping over themselves. The Council's news feeds ran headlines like, "Earth learns its lesson," and "Primitive pride checked again." Even allied species laughed behind closed doors. Humanity was amusing, a species full of teeth pretending to be polite. But beneath Earth's oceans, inside asteroid belts, in orbits shadowed from stellar observation, humanity was very quiet. Quiet in the way a breath is held before the plunge. Quiet in a way that wasn't submission, but calculation. 50 years ago, humanity had burst onto the interstellar stage after receiving their first contact. Eager, curious, and naive, humans traded eagerly, signed every treaty, and offered cooperation with both hands open. That eagerness was met with condescension, not open hostility, just the sort of dismissive contempt an empire might reserve for a curious rodent. Still, humans learned, fast, every alien blueprint absorbed, every diplomatic slight recorded, every treaty loophole studied, and every abandoned piece of alien tech repurposed, reverse-engineered, and made better. While other species had evolved over eons, layered by stagnation and legacy, humanity had only just begun its climb. And humans climbed quickly. At first, they stumbled. Failed colonies, mismanaged alliances, weak showings in council debates. A reputation formed, loud, undisciplined, short-lived, not worth fearing. But underneath that surface, something else was happening. They were listening. They were building. And more importantly, they were watching. Earth's ambassador was recalled with little fanfare. The network spun it as a retreat. The laughing continued. But in the offices of Earth's Defense Directorate, silence reigned. No speeches. No outrage. Just a quiet series of encrypted transmissions bounced across dark nodes, whispering the same phrase again and again. Hold position. Await authorization. In the meantime, the mockery intensified. Students on alien world staged Earth parades, where they danced around in fur and carried wooden sticks. Comedians used human music as punchlines, and still no response. Even on Earth, some began to doubt. Why weren't they pushing back? Why tolerate the ridicule? But those in power knew. Human history is written not in posturing, but in reversals. Civilizations mocked the Romans before the legions marched. Europe dismissed the Mongols before the hooves fell like thunder. No threat ever looked dangerous until it was already too late. The aliens didn't know the numbers. They didn't see the factories buried in Mars's crust. They didn't hear the rumble of engines inside Titan's methane storms. They hadn't noticed the moons with missing mass, or the strange energy signatures hiding just beyond Europa's shadow. No one had seen the orbital platforms around Neptune go dark. Humanity had been underestimated before. Every species had done it. They all thought Earth was emotional, reactionary, chaotic. But none of them considered the other side of chaos. Creativity, unpredictability, and the will to burn everything to ash for the sake of survival. The Grand Concord would reconvene in 3 cycles. Earth would be summoned again, expected to apologize once more, to bow their heads and offer more platitudes. The Varnok were already preparing a new round of restrictions. They didn't know the final piece was already in motion. There had been one final development, kept buried under 17 layers of classified encryption. A test run without detection. A brief flicker in the void beyond Pluto. A cloaked pulse that disappeared before any probes could triangulate. It lasted only 2 seconds. 2 seconds was enough. The systems were operational. The prototype had passed. The most powerful ship ever constructed by a human hand was ready. And no one, not the Varnok, not the Council, not the 1,000 species that laugh at Earth, had any idea it existed. Not yet. The headlines declared Earth compliant. The sanctions, approved unanimously, had gone into effect. The Galactic Concord had spoken, and once again, the humans had obeyed. Trade permits revoked. Military shipbuilding halted. Outer colonies frozen. The aliens celebrated in their own ways. Some with formal declarations, others with smirking broadcasts. A Varnok media segment ran the headline. Earth muzzled and managed. Across the galaxy, the signal was clear. The apes had been tamed. But behind closed doors in the cold silence of Sol's outer rim, no one was celebrating. A hidden station drifted in orbit around Neptune, black against black, shielded from detection by 100 overlapping countermeasures. Inside it, the most secure chamber in human space opened to a single retinal scan. Admiral Lynn Vega entered without ceremony. 12 others waited inside. No titles, no introductions. Just a single glowing display in the center of the room. No name, just a code name. Project Revenant. Vega spoke without preamble. Telemetry confirms that Cloak Array 7 remained stable during the phase shift. Mass shadow was concealed. Graviton lensing within tolerances. The ship passed its last test. Authorization window opens in 26 hours. No one applauded. No one spoke. They all knew what it meant. The Revenant was real. Its existence had been theoretical for years. Its purpose debated in silence among only the highest echelons of Earth's strategic command. While the rest of the galaxy laughed, Earth had devoted a quarter of its total black budget to a single platform. Not a fleet, one ship, built not for defense, not for deterrence, but for redefinition. Its hull was constructed from a weave of alien alloys and experimental composites. The cloak was more than optical. It bent time-lag mass signatures and absorbed gravitic drift. Its weapon systems drew from technologies barely tested outside lab environments. If a ship could be a ghost, this one was. Its construction had taken place across 8 separate facilities, each believing they were contributing to different projects. The final assembly occurred in an orbital shell disguised as an abandoned mining rig near Neptune. Not even Earth's own colony governors knew the full truth. The Council never asked where Earth's allocated materials went. They didn't care. To them, humans were building small colony ships and modular freighters, the kind of things harmless civilizations build. They never noticed when 3 entire mining colonies reported equipment failures and quietly vanished from interstellar trade. They didn't check when entire asteroid fields were classified as unstable and closed. They certainly never realized that the Sol system's military activity had gone dark, not because it stopped, but because it had gone completely cold. For 20 years, the Revenant had been constructed in layers, literal and strategic, and now it was nearly ready. But humanity still waited, not out of fear, out of timing. The Varnock provided the opportunity. A Varnock destroyer wing, operating outside official council jurisdiction, in a contested space near Sigma 3, a human colony in the Nemean sector. The attack came under the pretense of salvage rights. The local defense satellites were disabled in under a minute. The colony's orbital defenses lasted for 20,000 colonists dead, infrastructure destroyed. The Varnock transmitted claim, illegal settlement erased. The Concord issued no response, no condemnation, no consequences. The message was unambiguous. Earth had no power. Earth had no allies. Earth had no teeth. But Earth had patience. And Earth had the Revenant. Within 6 hours of the attack, every major government on Earth entered a closed emergency session. The Defense Directorate activated Protocol R0, Strategic Ghost Awakening. Communications went silent. Civilian networks were redirected. Even the most open human governments said nothing. Earth's official statement to the Concord was bland and procedural. A formal protest will be submitted. But on the black channels, signals went out, first to the Martian shipyards, then to the deep space stations near the Oort cloud, then to the relay drones orbiting in FDL drift near Alpha Centauri. No human ship moved, no fleet launched, no declaration of war. Only one thing happened. The Revenant's systems came online. Its AI core, dormant for years, awakened in microcycles, testing trillions of subroutines in seconds. Its gravitic spine pulsed once, stabilizing its zero-point drive. Within 8 hours, its launch corridor had cleared. It would not travel through known space. It didn't have to. Its cloak had already been tested. It had passed. And now it would move. Back on Earth, Elias Ward stood at the edge of a private chamber in Geneva, watching the artificial lake outside ripple with drone activity. He said nothing, but the message had already been sent. To the Council, he filed a standard complaint. To Admiral Vega, he sent only 2 words: it's time. The Concord interpreted Earth's silence as fear. Another miscalculation. Within 3 days, alien news cycles began to shift focus. Rumors from a Nemean sector whispered of strange sensor ghosts. Varnock patrols vanished without trace. Communication nodes stopped transmitting. No wreckage, no distress calls, just sudden silence. A Varnock carrier group dispatched to investigate also disappeared. It never arrived. Concord analysts blamed ion storms. But within Earth's command networks, the truth was clear. Revenant had arrived. It was never built for show. It was built to do one thing and do it flawlessly. Appear once, end the threat, and vanish before a response could even be calculated. It wasn't a ship. It was a verdict. The Varnock had laughed. The Council had mocked. The galaxy had underestimated. But now, something moved in the dark. Something shaped by silence, forged by centuries of human failure, and rebuilt from their rage. Something that had no equal, because no other species had ever believed a vessel like this was even necessary. They were right. It wasn't necessary. Until now, the first confirmed signal came from a fringe outpost on Varnock territory, a simple mining relay station with light defenses. It blinked out mid-transmission. The Varnock military sent a scout frigate. 3 minutes after entering the zone, it transmitted an emergency beacon consisting of only 2 words: it's here. Then silence. Internal Varnock security logs, later leaked, showed their high command in confusion. Nothing showed on long-range sensors. There were no energy spikes, no FTL signatures, no mass anomalies. Just a slow, methodical collapse of their outer defensive net. Station fleets, surveillance drones, gone. The Council began to take notice, but the Varnock still brushed it off as sabotage or pirate activity. No one imagined a single vessel could do this. Not until the Battle of Karotha's Edge. The Varnock deployed an entire battle group. For cruisers, 6 frigates, 2 carriers, and 32 support craft. It was overkill by any measure. It was also standard Varnock doctrine. Overwhelm, intimidate, dominate. They entered the system in formation, shields up, weapons primed, ready for a show of force. They didn't even see it coming. The first cruiser simply exploded. No warning, no detectable projectile. Its hull tore open from the inside, as if the laws of physics folded for a split second and let something through. The second cruiser lost main power as its reactor vanished. Vanished, not destroyed, leaving behind only vacuum. The command carrier tried to retreat. It made it exactly 11.3 seconds before its drive core overloaded in a manner that should have been impossible without sabotage. Across the remaining fleet, panic spread faster than command channels could manage. Auto-targeting systems screamed errors. No enemy contacts. No lock-ons. But hulls buckled. Drones disintegrated. Thrusters froze mid-burn. Artificial gravity reversed in some compartments, slamming crews into ceilings and floors in red mists of bone. Then, for a full minute, everything stopped. Not peace, just observation, because it was watching. The Revenant didn't announce itself. No bravado, no hail, no demand. It simply existed in the space it chose, bending light and mass around it so perfectly that the Varnock couldn't distinguish illusion from annihilation. The ship's systems had one mission: complete dominance. Its AI didn't think like a strategist. It thought like a predator. One Varnock frigate, in blind panic, fired in every direction with its main railgun. It struck nothing. It was erased moments later by a pulse of directed gravitational collapse that imploded the ship inwards at 3,000 times the pressure it was designed to tolerate. By the time Council observers arrived, late, distant, and limited to high-altitude scans, the battle was over. There were no human ships in the system, and not a single Varnock vessel remained. A Council investigative team was sent in. Their sensor data returned nothing useful. Radiation traces didn't match known weapons. Wreckage fragments, what little remained, were warped, molecularly distorted. No energy signature lasted more than 6 seconds. No one could explain how an entire battle group disappeared without a single piece of footage, targeting record, or distress call longer than 3 seconds. It wasn't just annihilation. It was surgical, terrifyingly efficient. That's when fear started to spread. At first, quietly. Whispers. Military enclaves across the galaxy began rechecking security protocols. Some alien species recalled their trade fleets near human space. Diplomats stopped joking. Analysts ran simulations. They all failed to explain it. Concord Central AI ran predictive modeling. It couldn't produce a viable scenario where any known navy in the galaxy could contain the unknown threat. Officially, it was still unconfirmed. But the most paranoid minds in the galaxy were already coming to the same conclusion. Earth had built something, and it had finally uncloaked. But the humans said nothing. No declarations of responsibility. No threats. Not even denials. Elias Ward, when asked about the incident at Carotha's Edge during the Concord Summit, simply raised an eyebrow and said, "Sounds like a tragic systems failure. Our condolences to the Varnock." The words echoed like a gunshot. Suddenly, the image of the passive, laughable human diplomat began to shift. He wasn't panicking. He wasn't defensive. He was calm, composed, unbothered, because he knew. The Varnock began pulling forces back from the Nemean sector. Without admitting it, they were in retreat, not from war, from the possibility of war, from a whisper of power so asymmetrical it defied comprehension. What kind of species builds a single ship to outmatch entire fleets and keeps it secret for decades? Earth didn't threaten vengeance. Earth demonstrated it, and that changed everything. The Concord demanded a formal inquiry. Earth refused. No apology. No admittance. The humans simply stated they were reviewing internal security procedures, and that the incident at Carotha's Edge was outside the scope of human jurisdiction. It was a diplomatic middle finger in velvet gloves. The Council wavered. The balance of power had shifted. They didn't know how many of these ships Earth had. 1? 10? Were there more cloaked, waiting silently near other border systems? The lack of data made the fear worse. Uncertainty is a predator in itself. Alliance networks started fracturing. Minor species who once parroted anti-Earth sentiments began reaching out with private offers of trade. Independent factions opened back channels for technology exchange. Everyone wanted to hedge their bets. If Earth had truly broken parity, then neutrality was the only sane move. But Earth wasn't interested in revenge. They didn't strike more systems. They didn't move fleets or plant flags. Because they didn't need to. They had demonstrated capability, not ambition. And that was more dangerous. Because ambition can be predicted. Capability makes the galaxy guess. Inside Earth's command center, deep beneath the lunar surface, the Revenant's AI quietly entered standby. No fanfare, no celebration. It had done its job. The mission parameters had been met. Deterrence established. Superiority undisputed. Loss of life minimized. Not a weapon of war. A promise. The next move was never military. It was psychological. And the galaxy had already lost. In the aftermath of Kurota's Edge, the galaxy held its collective breath. The Concord issued a formal statement, urging the reinstatement of calm and order. A resolution was proposed. The issue of unacknowledged weapons platforms will be discussed at the next summit. It was a feeble response, an attempt to downplay the chaos Earth's actions had introduced into the interstellar equilibrium. But the truth lingered in the dark corners of council chambers. Behind closed doors, the most powerful members of the Concord were not debating how to respond. They were already taking measures to protect themselves. They were preparing for the inevitable retribution. The question was no longer if Earth would rise. It was when they had awoken something in the galaxy no one had expected. Humanity had shown that it was no longer the laughingstock. It was now a contender. As the days turned to weeks, Earth's government continued its silence. No declarations. No mobilizations. The military, for the first time in centuries, shifted its focus away from public posture and toward hardening their infrastructure. Every station, every colony, every human settlement on every planet was reinforced. Covert fleets were prepped in the shadows, cloaked and waiting. But in public, Earth maintained a veneer of diplomacy. Ambassadors continued their talks. Trade continued with select partners. To the Concord, nothing had changed. Yet, humanity's hand had been played, and the galaxy would never be the same. Meanwhile, the Revenant remained cloaked in its hidden orbit, the heart of humanity's power sitting quietly, its systems always alert, always listening, but never acting unless called. The AI, once the crux of humanity's greatest technological leap, now functioned on standby, waiting for the next moment of crisis. The ship was not a weapon of conquest nor a tool of destruction. It was simply a means to an end, to prove that humanity could stand unshaken against any force in the galaxy and ensure that no one ever underestimated them again. No one spoke openly of the Revenant's existence, but the whispers continued to grow. Traders avoided certain sectors of space, warning each other to stay clear of human-controlled zones. Fleet commanders began recalculating attack strategies, adjusting for possibility that Earth had more than one of these ships. None of them dared test it. It wasn't long before a quiet shift occurred among the lesser species in the galaxy. The Zithri, known for their sharp tongues and clever negotiation tactics, began seeking more favorable trade deals with Earth. The Zorith, once antagonistic to humanity's territorial ambitions, requested an audience with Earth's diplomats. Earth was no longer the aggressive, emotional species it had once been. It was now the silent, unpredictable force they had always underestimated. And then came the final call. The Varnock returned to the table, not in defiance, but in concession. Their fleet commander, the same one who had mocked humanity for the last time, approached Earth's representatives not with demands, but with an offer. We will support the removal of your sanctions. In exchange, Earth will agree to a non-aggression pact with the Varnock Dominion. Elias Ward listened, expression unchanged, as the Varnock delegation laid out their terms. Their voices were no longer filled with superiority. Now there was only cautious respect, even fear in their tone. The very species who had once paraded humanity's weakness were now offering peace, not out of kindness, but because they knew what the humans were capable of. Ward's response was succinct. We'll consider it, but we don't negotiate out of fear. If you want peace, you'll have to prove it. A stunned silence hung over the room. No one had expected that. The Varnock delegation could only nod, recognizing the shift. No longer was humanity the desperate underdog. It had become the unknown quantity, the silent predator who had shown that it could reshape the galaxy in an instant. And yet, Earth did not take immediate action. It did not seek empire. It did not demand retribution. Humanity's greatest strength was not in its weapons, nor its technological advancements. It was in their patience. The story of Karotha's Edge spread quickly. The Concord held a special session, finally acknowledging that humanity's presence in the galaxy had to be redefined. The ship that had destroyed the Varnock battle group was never confirmed to be the Revenant. No proof existed, only rumor, suspicion, and the undeniable truth that Earth was capable of unimaginable force. It was a new chapter in galactic history. But Earth's quietness, its refusal to expand, to force it on others, confused the Council. Were the humans content with their power? Or were they just waiting for the right moment to strike again? Humanity had created something that could never be truly understood, an ambiguity that made the entire galaxy nervous. Not a warship, not an empire. A presence. A reminder that when pushed too far, Earth could and would become the last species anyone underestimated. Weeks passed. Months. The Varnock eventually removed the trade restrictions. The Zithri signed new pacts with Earth, offering technological exchanges. Other species followed suit, offering their own terms of cooperation. The galaxy adjusted, slowly, to the new reality where humanity was not an easy target. Still, no one dared to speak of the Revenant again. Its cloaked, dark presence was never acknowledged, but everyone knew. No fleet dared challenge humanity. No species dared laugh at Earth anymore. And the whispers, those whispers, had become too loud to ignore. The galaxy had learned its lesson. And as for Earth, it had learned something too. The Revenant wasn't the key to their survival. It was their willingness to go unseen, to make no move until the time was right, and then to show what was possible when no one expected it. The era of mockery had ended. The era of respect had begun. And humanity wasn't just surviving. Humanity had arrived.